Sports Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about
Dallas is done for on the season.
Please like and subscribe, and I'm going to give this podcast to my brother.
Hello world! Opening day is hit Major League Baseball, and the Cubs won their opener 8-4 over Miami. Anthony Rizzo clubbing a long home run. Ian Happ, the first pitch of the game, sent over the wall for a home run. But Houston looks dangerous, and they look like they may be on a road to repeating as they beat the Rangers on their opening day. Beat the Texas Rangers in their opener. Giancarlo Stanton clubbing 2 home runs on opening day as the Bronx Bombers begin their 2018 campaign with a lot of pressure. But it's the end of the road for Loyola. The Cinderella story has ended for Loyola. Michigan ended their hopes for an upset 69-57. Michigan will play Villanova in the national title game Monday night. Should be a good game for sure. And so here are my picks for who I think is going to be the winners in Major League Baseball this year. In the AL East, I'm picking the Bronx Bombers to win. In the AL Central, I'm picking the Royals to win. In the AL West, I'm picking Houston to win. In the National League Central Division, I'm picking the Cubs to win. In the National League West, I'm picking the Dodgers to win. And in the National League East, I'm picking the Mets to win. So, and my final World Series pick for 2018 as of right now, I've got the Cubs and the Yankees meeting in the World Series, and I have the Cubs defeating the Bronx Bombers in a 7-game classic, one that will have twists and turns for days, much like 2016 did. It's going to be it's very early in the year, very early on the season, but it's going to be a fun time of year. Always the best time of year in baseball, when the season is young, when everybody has a chance. Although you have to wait until June, July, then all of a sudden the contenders begin to separate themselves from the pretenders, and it's always interesting, especially around the trade deadline time. What will teams decide to do? Will they decide to be buyers, or will some decide to sell and start to build toward the future? When the Cubs tanked and won in 2016, the Cubs were the only team that were openly tanking to get talent in the draft and to build toward the World Series winner. And Houston also tanked, and they built toward the World Series winner. And now you might have like a third of the teams in baseball that are openly tanking and not trying to build competitive teams this year in Major League Baseball. And I don't really feel like this is going to upset competitive balance at all. Not very much anyway. But it's interesting that a third of the teams now are trying to compete. Not even trying to compete. They're just building toward the future. And if you're a fan of like the Mets, of the Tampa Bay Rays, if you're a fan of like the Florida Marlins, don't know how you can justify heading out to the ballpark with these names that are not really first name caliber names on the roster, and an ownership that has really traded away big name players for not so big name players. And it's interesting because the Florida Marlins, the Miami Marlins, have lost Marlins man, their most vocal, their most visible fan, who would wear the bright orange Holmes jerseys behind home plate in the All-Star game. And when you've lost Marlins man, it might be time to reevaluate how your ownership is doing. When you've lost your most visible fan on the fan base, that's a problem. So, Major League Baseball, do they have a problem? I don't think the game itself has a problem, but I think maybe 10 out of the 30 owners, 10 out of the 30 GMs definitely do have a problem when the game is not being openly competitive, and you expect fans to shell out major league prices for minor league talent or younger talent, that's a problem. And what is the way for baseball to address that? Will baseball address that? Don't know. Seems like Rob Manfred, the commissioner, is more set on trying to speed up baseball as much as possible right now, which I'm not opposed to either. But some of these suggestions are wackadoodle, like putting a runner on second base in extra innings. That's just wackadoodle. And if that happens, what the heck? Let's just throw the whole rule book out the window. After 9 innings, let's just have a home run derby to determine a winner. If we're going to go that route and throw the entire rule book out the window, and that's just... And I'm a purist as they come in the name of the game, but change is going to happen in baseball. A pitch clock is going to come eventually. It's only a matter of if and not when. A pitch clock is going to happen. And it's because basketball was regarded as a slow game until the invention of the shot clock. So it is, and the three-point line as well. The three-point line coming over from the American Basketball Association. So change is inevitable in the sport, and change isn't always for the better, but change is inevitable, and it's something that a sports fan must deal with, something that you must deal with in life as well. So it is absolutely imperative that the game make these changes and make them correctly, or you might alienate future audiences to your sport. So the NFL draft is coming up from Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, and the NFL draft, it seems like every year a huge hype is made over the NFL draft, but more and more I start to feel like the players, the teams that draft out of Major League Baseball, it's not really fair to judge them based on a rookie year. You need to wait several years before determining whether or not their careers are flash in the pan or ones of genuine brilliance across the game. But the draft will be held in Arlington, Texas. And speaking of Cowboys Stadium, I've been thinking about how Jason Witten, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys for 15 years now, has played his way into Canton, Ohio as one of the great tight ends in the history of the league, certainly the greatest tight end in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Eat your heart out, Jackie Smith, who dropped the winning touchdown when the Dallas Cowboys played Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl, 35-31, one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played, despite that terrible ending. But Jason Witten, the man is a Hall of Famer, and why is Jason Witten a Hall of Famer coming out of the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers? It's because Tony Romo made Jason Witten a Hall of Famer. Whenever Jason Witten was open on third down, and whenever Tony Romo needed 10 yards, it seemed like Tony Romo would get Jason Witten would get Tony Romo 10 yards at least every time, 11 yards every time. I'll never forget that play in Philadelphia when Romo threw the ball over to Jason Witten. Jason Witten's helmet popped off, and he kept on running for an additional, after a helmet-to-helmet hit, popped his helmet off, and he kept running for an additional 10 yards or so. Jason Witten didn't need a helmet that day, and it was one of the more unusual plays. You don't normally see the helmet pop off like that, and it almost reminded me of seeing the old clips of the old leather helmets from the era of like Sammy Baugh of the 1930s, maybe Sid Luckman of the Chicago Bears from the 1940s. So the old bygone era of football that is gone and never coming back. But it was fun anyway. Jason Witten, the man, 15 years in this league, and I'm wondering what are they going to do to replace him at tight end. What will they do? Will they draft a tight end this year in the draft to replace him? Hope maybe that's probably a good idea. I remember last year when the rumor said that Jason Witten would leave his team during the season, to become the head coach at the University of Tennessee. And I actually think Jason Witten would be a great head coach in college or the pros, but the fact that they were saying he was willing to leave his team during the season, I thought was nonsense. But Jason Witten, the man's a Hall of Famer. Give him his Hall of Fame bust in Canton, Ohio, along with John Madden, along with Joe Montana, along with the other greats to play this game, alongside Shannon Sharp, alongside Tony Gonzalez, two other great tight ends in the history of the NFL. He can block, he can catch, he is the most solid receiver on this Dallas Cowboys team. Jason Witten, the man is in Canton, Ohio. A few years from now, after his retirement, the man is the Cowboys personified. Always getting open, never saying a bad word about anybody on this Cowboys team. Jason Witten, the consummate professional. It's too bad the Cowboys can't clone Jason Witten.
Thanks for listening to the Power Zone Sports Podcast. Please like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter link will be down below. And I'll see you next time in the next podcast. Bye! And have a very happy Easter.